Hello people of the internet, this is Kaiju Noir here with another review. At long last we have reached the end of our look at the history of 60s Godzilla ripoffs, knockoffs, clones, and cash-ins. By now we have seen a laughably executed Danish film, an interesting British film, an outrageous Japanese film that eventually grew into a franchise, a second Japanese film that was rather dull, and finally a third Japanese film that should have been tried for plagiarism. Now we shall travel to South Korea, where we shall take a look at Yongary, Monster from the Deep. In the past, I have reviewed the American versions of certain kaiju films because I did not have access to their native versions. In the case of Yongary, the American version is the only version available. Interesting story. When the studio Kookdong Entertainment agreed to send their film over to American International Pictures in order to create a version to show to Western audiences, Kookdong accidentally sent them the original film negatives rather than copies because they were unaccustomed to shipping their films to international markets. Unaware that they were holding the original negatives, AIP threw them away once they had put together their own edit of the film, which is what we are looking at today. There has been a print of the original version that had premiered on South Korean television. However, from what I've seen, the print is only 48 minutes long, and as you can see from this screenshot, it's in horrific condition. Even the worst pan and scan prints of Godzilla vs. Megalon have looked better than this. Anyway, let's get on with the review, shall we? The movie starts off with a couple getting married. Afterwards, the groom becomes part of a manned spaceflight in order to investigate a site in the Middle East where a nuclear bomb went off. Said bomb sets off a series of earthquakes which eventually reach South Korea and awaken Yongary. As soon as he awakens, Yongary begins to march through the city of Seoul in search of oil refineries to feed off of. Now the fate of the city and its citizens lie in the hands of a scientist named Ilo, played by Yong-il-oh, and his young acquaintance Icho, played by Kwang-ho Lee. Because, trust me, the military certainly aren't going to do anything worth noting. As you can tell by that plot synopsis, there really isn't anything in this film that you have seen in countless other giant monster movies. In fact, out of all of the Godzilla knockoffs, this one is probably the most straightforward ripoff. Even the title monster himself is a basic fire-breathing dinosaurian kaiju with a row of spines down its back. Oh, but hold on! This one's got a laser horn! Yeah, other than that, there's not much to this guy. In fact, when it comes to his design, he looks like Godzilla if he was designed by the people from Dai Studios, as Yongary looks like he could fit in with the kaijus from the Showa Gamera series. In terms of characters, there's not a lot going for them. Pretty much every character in this movie is a glorified plot device. The husband, seen at the beginning, is only there to introduce the bomb that awakens Yongary. Ilo is there to find Yongary's weakness, and Icho is there to have the audience view the monster from a sympathetic angle, a la Gamera the Giant Monster. None of them are memorable and won't leave any sort of impression. Except for Icho, whose English voice actor sounds so bored, it's as if the character was born without a soul.
Hey, those are terrific. Why should a monster drink oil?
Where were you?
Watching Yongary?
Oh, really?
Yes, and how about this? He eats oil and gasoline. I think little brothers are supposed to act like brats. But anyway, my sister's nice.
Now we come to the film's special effects, which is its weakest point, as well as its strongest. What I mean by that is, like Reptilicus, this film can be enjoyed with the right set of mind, as this film features some of the most hilariously bad special effects I've ever seen in a monster movie. Almost nothing works here. The model cities look small and empty, the buildings are completely hollow inside, and the animation used for Yongary's laser horn is extremely limited. There are also multiple technical screw-ups in this movie, so much so that it's better just to show you rather than describe them. And what better way to do so than with a montage? If there was one thing that was executed with any sort of competency, it would have to be the Yongary suit itself, as it is able to perform as intended, and its skin, spines, and face are very well detailed. Yongary Monster from the Deep can be an entertaining film if viewed by a very specific audience. If you are the kind of person that enjoys recreating the MST3K experience at home, or just love bad movies in general, then this movie is perfect cannon fodder. Those qualities may not be much, but it's enough for me to give this film a 2 out of 5. Well, that concludes our look at the history of Godzilla knockoffs from the 60s. Overall, it's been a pretty interesting experience. While none of the films were of excellent quality, they did, however, solidify Godzilla's impact on the film industry throughout the world, and only added to his popularity. Out of all of them, I'd have to say that Gamera the Giant Monster was my personal favorite. As film studios entered the 70s, the increasing costs of these sorts of special effects, as well as the rising popularity of tokusatsu television programs, are what prevented many kaiju films from being produced. Even the Godzilla series suffered, as its run was slowing down to a crawl in terms of quality and box office performances. Eventually, the kaiju genre did came back in the 80s with the return of Godzilla. Once audiences were reintroduced to the Big G himself, a new Godzilla-inspired creature arrived on the scene, hailing from a very unexpected country. Join me next time as we take a look at the final Godzilla cash-in that I'll be reviewing. Until next time, everybody, take care.